It's your girl Rebecca hosting for the Reddit Randos podcast. And tonight I have someone that we haven't had for a little while. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. You need to talk louder.
No.
You and Justin can be so close to the mic sometimes and not.
You're just a very loud.
I'm a naturally loud person, which is perfect for this.
That's why nobody likes you.
This is why it's audio only and not video. I could be annoying and you guys don't even know what I look like. So, no, but we are here for another week of some Halloween stories or spooky, scary stories. So we're gonna get, this week is, last week was Glitch in the Matrix, and we put in a few still Am I the A-hole stories in there to kind of lighten it up. Well, I'm gonna now go into just more scary stories, maybe a couple mood lighteners, little, what are the ones to lighten the mood. They're mood lighteners. Lighten the mood probably sounds better. Sure. I've just made up word here and there. So, yeah, I guess we're going to just get right into it. So, yeah, well, I guess I don't want to put a trigger warning because honestly, these aren't the scariest ones I found out there, but they are a little creepy. So if I guess I'll say if you are listening to this around kids, or family members who just don't like anything eerie or creepy, then I guess just get your headphones or earphones in or wait to listen to it when you're by yourself. So I guess I'll just put that out there because I'm a nice person and I want to make sure I warn you guys before you're listening to this in public. But I'm sorry, who's listening to this out loud in public? That's just annoying. Don't listen to your things on the speaker out loud in public. That's just, no one wants to listen to your stuff. No one wants to listen to my annoying voice out loud in public.
Amen.
Shut up. I'm just being obvious over here. Just, even if it's, criticizing myself. Okay. So the first one I'm going to get into is a lot of them I just kind of looked up and was going through Reddit asking a question asking a bunch of people, what are your creepiest things here and there? So there's a lot of those different variations of it. So this one was from r/Ask Reddit, and it is, people of Reddit, what is your downright scariest real life story? And someone from 3 years ago had put down, is I don't know. That's what the username is. It's a miracle. So I think they're trying to say, it's a miracle. But they put down, I used to sleepwalk when I was a child. We lived in a rough neighborhood. And she put Decatur, Georgia. So I guess that's a rough neighborhood. And I would wake up outside in the middle of the night, not knowing how I got there. And would have to walk home and walk into darkened doorways I had left wide open for whoever might be lurking around. However, the time that I scared me the most was when I was about 9 years old. I woke up and found myself with the bedroom curtains drawn back and staring out the window. As I came awake, I noticed a very large and completely hairless man, meaning no hair or eyebrows, etc., staring at me and slowly inching closer to the window and closer to my face. He was looking bewildered, like he wasn't sure what he was seeing. At that moment, I realized what was going on, and I started screaming uncontrollably, frozen in place, and peeing down my leg.
Yeah.
The man freaked out and screamed, did a tumbling move, and then ran off in a weird zigzag like he was trying to dodge bullets. My mom woke up and thought I probably had a nightmare. The next morning, we found a screwdriver on the front porch and damaged the door jamb and door handle. I still just about pee my pants when I tell that story, but now it's usually from laughing. I'll never forget the look on his face when I started coming to life and screaming, or his high-pitched scream, or his duck and roll, and dodging and bobbing all the way down the street. And someone had commented at the bottom saying, somewhere, some crazy dude has a story about him narrowly avoiding a possessed child. I mean, first of all, why are you looking and inching towards someone's window with child looking straight out of it.
Yeah.
That's just creepy as it is. But maybe she was so still, it freaked him out.
Yeah, maybe he was just checking.
Yeah, just, never sounds good when a man in the middle of the night is looking at a child through their bedroom window. Yeah, so if the child's not in danger, just keep walking. Just keep walking. But I mean, I don't know. Have you ever slept walk before?
I was told I did when I was a kid.
So I used to a lot. Was there any crazy stories about it, or you just came out sometimes?
No, apparently my parents were in the living room watching TV, and I came out of my room. I turned to our stack of DVDs and looked at them, and then went back to bed. And that's my parents came and checked on me to see if I was awake, and nope, I was still asleep.
So I still talk a lot in my sleep, and so Justin's always saying he has had these conversations with me. Sometimes I think he's just doing that because he knows I'll probably believe him anyways, because I do talk enough in my sleep. But sometimes I feel like he's just, taking advantage of you were probably sleeping because you had a conversation with me and everything.
You told me.
I know, you told me I could game all night. No.
You agreed.
Yeah, right? No. But I did have a big, long history of sleepwalking a lot. And I don't sleepwalk anymore, probably because I'm always up in the night with kids. So I don't really have a chance to actually be deep enough in a REM cycle to get up in my sleep and everything. But a lot of times I'd run out of bed and just start walking down the stairs and find my parents. There was one time I tried leaving my own house and my parents stopped me in time before I literally just opened the front door. And it's a heavy door. And I had to go through a different door, and they stopped me before. They're like, "What are you doing?" And then the really big story I had when I was walk sleeping is that I went to church camp. And it's a couple hours away from where we live. It was IRBC. But I went there, and of course there's a lake there, and there's a bunch of cabins. It was just junior girls, so it was just a bunch of girls, and we had our cabin with our counselor and other cabin people or church girls I had there. And then one night, I guess I left. We didn't have a bathroom in our own cabin. We had to walk out to the main bathrooms in the middle of the, I guess, area or the whole yard. So I had to walk outside for it. I just remember someone telling me that they noticed I left the door wide open, but then I came back in to put my shoes on, and then I left again, leaving the door wide open. And then it had been a while, and someone noticed I still left the door open and realized I was gone. And I don't know, honestly, what I was doing during this whole time. But then I guess there was a whole search party out for me. Uh-huh. So everyone's woken up in the night. I know a bunch of other counselors were up. And then I guess the camp nurse even got up, and she's the one that found me. And I was further away, almost by it was like the building that was the cafeteria and main lobby area that we'd have everyone gather in the mornings. And I was in the playground area, just laying down. So I think I woke up hearing mosquitoes all over me. So I was like, what is that? And like, why do I have mosquitoes by me? And she's like, I think I remember she's like, honey, are you okay? Just like, where am I?
Why are you in my room?
Oh, I swear. Okay, this is junior girl story. I want to say it was like 9 or 10. So, yeah, that was a scary thing. And everyone was, like, freaking out. And they're all like, you could have jumped in the lake and we would have never known. I'm like, oh, okay, that just made it really dark all of a sudden. So, I don't know if my mom was, like, scared or just embarrassed by all these stories.
Well, you never know, especially at a camp with your kid if you're not there.
Yeah. The last time I remember truly sleepwalking was when I married Justin. We were in the apartment, and it was late one night. And I don't know if he was also in bed or he was about to go to bed. I had already been sleeping for a little bit. And of course, when I was sleeping in then, I literally just had a long, big t-shirt, and I had no pants or anything. And I just got up, started walking really fast to the apartment door, and just opened it wide open. And Justin's like, back go. what are you doing? He's like dragging me back in. He's like, what are you doing? You're going to start walking out there with just the top on? And
yeah.
I'm like, oh, sorry.
Taking a stroll.
It's a good thing I don't have those anymore. I must have outgrown them once I had, like, kids that are keeping me awake. So, but yeah, I guess, sleepwalkers and sleep talkers are kind of creepy sometimes if you're, especially, like, around them and they're talking in their sleep and everything. Mm-hmm. My sister said she used to have conversations with me.
Oh.
When I was sleeping and talking.
Yeah.
I guess our whole family kind of did a little bit of like sleep talking, but I was the most extreme. So I think one person I knew put beads hanging at the door. So if they ever opened and they could hear the beads, they knew someone in the middle of the night had left and they would get up. So I'm like, I didn't have that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, going to the next one. And this one I found from a subreddit r/creepy encounters. And this is found out my friend's dad is a creep.
Probably
there's a lot of creeps out there. We've all been around them before. There's a bunch of creeps out there. And unfortunately some of them are dads. Alright, so this happened 5 years ago. Okay, first of all, should I put a trigger warning? Nothing too bad happens, but it's enough to make some people uncomfortable. So take caution reading this. I already put that out there before this whole episode, so you've been forewarned. Anyway, I was 15 and I had just transferred into a new school. I made a friend immediately, and after a few weeks, I asked my mom and she agreed to let me spend the night. I'm not going to give out my friend's real name, so let's just call her Kelsey. Anyway, I get to Kelsey's place, and it's all fun and games. I met her mom, who I absolutely adore, and even managed to make a few jokes with both her parents, even though her dad seemed more partial to grunting. Oh, so he's a caveman. No, I don't know. Huh, yeah. Around 10, we both got sleepy, and since I have a horrible memory, I didn't remember bringing something to sleep with, so I borrowed a shirt from Kelsey that went down to my knees. We also slept together in the same bed. I know probably not a good idea to be wearing just a shirt with understuff, of course, to a sleepover, but I trusted my friend and she was wearing something similar. We both passed out, but I woke up sometime later because I could feel the blanket moving. I turned my head and saw a shadowy figure I could just barely make out to be her dad step back from the bed and drop the blanket. I blinked in his direction like twice and then instantly fell asleep again. Dumb, I know, but I was dead tired and too sleepy to be properly alarmed. I felt the same thing after I fell asleep again, and this time I didn't move around too much as I looked and verified that yes, that was my friend's father, and that he was lifting the blanket off the side I was sleeping on. My thighs were exposed because the shirt was ridden up when I slept, and I sat up, scaring him away from the blanket again. Yeah, it took it happening twice, but I finally caught on to what was going on. And to say I was scared was an understatement. I had a lot of crap going through my head of potential horrible ways that could have ended. I made sure the blanket was around my legs and still acted sleepy because I didn't want him to know how aware I was. He moved away from the foot of the bed and stood by the TV telling me some BS story that he was just there to turn it down or whatever. I just went with it. He stood there for like 3 minutes, just looking back to see if I would lay down again. If I was even thinking about it, the fact that he was waiting on it would have stopped me. Thankfully, he left the room, and I grabbed my phone and tried my hardest to call my parents. They didn't answer because it was like 3 a.m. As I was trying to reach them, though, I noticed that he never really left the hallway/bathroom space in front of Kelsey's door. He was still waiting for me to fall back asleep, and as such, poked his head into the room every few minutes. At that point, I felt sick. I was the most terrified I had ever been in my life because I suddenly realized that we were the only two awake in the house. I went on Sham Chat. I don't know, have you ever heard of that? Sham Chat must be an app. Mm-mm. I went on Sham Chat just to contact people and not feel so isolated. I could have woken Kelsey, but I didn't. I was too scared, and I didn't want to lose my first friend. so I didn't bother to wake her up. I just stayed on my phone all night until she woke up, and I made her come with me to the bathroom because I was so nervous. If you're curious, I did eventually tell her what happened. She begged me to tell her mom, and I did even though I didn't want to. She then came home with me and refused to leave until I told my mom. Together, they managed to get him out of the house, and Kelsey is still one of my closest friends to this day. I am immensely grateful of the fact that I'm a light sleeper. The only thing that woke me up those 2 times was because I could feel the blanket being lifted. It was such a small thing, but I'm so lucky. I'm so freaking lucky that it woke me up. He could have done a lot worse than it looked if it wasn't for that. Yeah, I'd say that's probably more than creepy.
Yeah, that's a lot more than creepy.
Creepy is like he throws out a really inappropriate comment.
Yeah, like he's just like an old drunk kind of creepy.
Right, like, like the old guys at the bar that just throw out like, oh,
think they can get anybody,
you look so beautiful. You look like my daughter. Who's not? Why didn't you have a man? You should come home with me, kind of thing. Like this stupid crap that they do. They always that never works, man. I don't know why you think that's gonna work. First of all, you're older, 2 times older, like twice the age of me.
Not gonna work today.
Nope, not gonna work today. But this was definitely more than creepy. This was like borderline.
And when they say they got him out of the house, so either he admitted to it or there was more that was found out that's just not being informed. But I mean,
for the daughter or for the friend to be so agreeable and just to quickly believe her on that, and to tell my mom, then there had to be some more more things that had gone on before in the past that made them all eerie about him. So I'm glad the friend, there's so many times when something happens, maybe a friend's relative does something to you and you're so afraid to say anything. I'm not saying this from experience. I'm just saying I know that happens out there. Someone that's close or someone that you thought was close that you could trust basically betrayed you and horrible ways, and you think you could tell your best friend or relative or someone else and they don't believe you. Yeah. That's the worst thing, is that they don't believe you and they think you're lying and making this whole story up, and then then you're great, now I've told someone to help myself and they all don't believe me.
Right.
So, top comment was, I'm amazed that she begged you to tell her mom. That friend is a keeper. Mm-hmm. So I agree. Someone had put down, I truly think she begged her to tell her mom because her father had been doing this, if not worse, to her, and she was too scared to tell.
That's what I was kind of thinking, too.
Maybe worried no one would believe her. This was her way of getting it to stop. I mean, that is very true. For her to just, believe her friend or believe OP so quickly makes sense that maybe some things were happening to her. And that's just terrible how that happens. Underneath that, they say that, there's no way that he only did this to her friends, especially considering the 2 of them were sleeping next to each other. And OP had actually replied to that saying, I didn't mention it because it's not my half of the story to tell, so I won't go into detail about what exactly happened. She's okay, don't worry, but I will confirm that you are all right. Kelsey is doing great, though, if you wanted to know. Yeah, so that definitely confirms that she was also getting this. Mm-hmm. And that's just so creepy, and I'm glad the mom agreed or believed them, because that's another thing. Because I've heard plenty of stories where the daughter gets, sexually abused, and the mom, who should be the one looking out for her child, doesn't believe her. Even though she probably knows the kind of man her husband is.
Even if she gets it done to her, it's still...
Exactly. That's another thing.
To you,
that's domestic abuse or sexual abuse and everything. It happens to usually the spouse and the children. When it happens to the children, the spouses already knew about it.
Yeah.
And them letting it happen to the children, I mean, I'm sorry that you are keeping up with this just to be close to your kids to make sure they're protected, but you need to get out and protect those children. So, okay. We'll go to the next one. And this one is another one from r/creepy encounters. And this is, make sure to always lock your doors. So, 23-year-old guy here. I live in a pretty safe neighborhood and usually always lock my doors. Last night, I apparently didn't. It was not too long after I had taken my dogs out for the last time and was turning off the TV and lights when my dogs started growling. Not too weird, since that sometimes does happen when people walk by the house. The dog only does it to certain people, not everyone. I then heard the front door open and someone walk in. My dog then started barking. The other dog, my other dog, who loves all people, came running from the other room to greet our guest. That's a dumb dog.
Probably a golden retriever.
That dog's too trusting. Yeah. He's like, people, I love people. At the same time, I was reacting to what was happening and went, what the F? Who are you? Standing in the hall was a guy in his mid to late 20s. He was skinny and tall. Oh wait, I don't think I'm in the right place. He genuinely seemed confused. I replied with, heck no you aren't, please get out. He apologized and said he was coming to hang out with a friend and just accidentally went to the wrong place. I asked him what house he was looking for, and he said a number that was just a few couple numbers off from mine. He apologized again and left. He seemed nice and non-threatening, but I was still kind of spooked. This morning, I was ready to laugh the whole thing off. I was planning on telling my neighbor, a couple that's in their 30s, what happened. I don't know them all too well, but we have talked before. Luckily, I caught with one of them and when I was taking my dogs out. I didn't want to come off like I was mad or scared over what happened, so I casually said, I'm sure he told you about it, but your friend paid me a surprise visit last night. My neighbor gave me this confused look and said, what are you talking about? And I said, your friend. He walked into my house last night thinking it was your place. My neighbor was quiet for a second and then said, I don't want to alarm you, but I have no idea what you're talking about. We didn't have a friend over last night. So, always lock your doors.
Yeah.
When you leave and when you get in. This is something okay, so like me, we lived in a pretty good neighborhood. We never had anything, we always left our car doors unlocked. We never locked them. So then when I met Justin, and he would always lock his car, and I'm like, what are you doing that for? Yeah. We always leave ours unlocked unless we're going to the store or something and we're out of town and everything. But no, he'd come over to my parents' house and he'd always lock the door. And my mom would just be like, I don't know why he does that. And I know, but that's just me. That's just our family. We grew up in a really good neighborhood. We literally had no problems. Yeah. The crazy thing growing up now that I think is just nuts is that I never understood it. My mom leaving the house would leave the doors unlocked all the time. Yeah. Never locked them. But whenever she was home alone or with us, she'd lock all the doors. So then, of course, or she was because she was a stay-at-home mom or during the weeks or worked part-time over the weekend. So during the week when we would come home from school, the doors would always be locked and we'd have to go through a way to find a key to get in. And she'd have to remember to unlock it when we're coming home, but sometimes she would forget. So then I'd be just it happened so many times where the door was still locked. And I'm like, why do you lock the doors if you're home? Mm-hmm. And she's like, because I'm home alone. So if someone breaks in, I have nothing, I'm not going to be able to defend myself as much, or I'm not going to hear it because our house had many levels. So yeah, at first I never got it because I was just like, you'll leave the doors unlocked when you leave the house, but you'll lock it when you're home. And I always thought that was the opposite.
Right.
So, but then I think as I got older, I became more aware, especially as a woman, if you're alone, just always keep that extra precaution and
doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt. Lock the doors. So yeah, that's always when we're here. I'm, lock the doors. Justin's got it engraved in my head because he'll do it when we're all home. And I literally went out to take trash out and I'll come back and the door's locked. And I'll be like, I was gone for literally a minute. And he locks the door so often.
It's your sign.
What's my sign?
He doesn't want you.
And that went, like, literally right over my head.
It's a sign to get out.
Yes, give me children and then you're gone.
But take those children.
Actually, that would be him. He doesn't want the kids.
He wouldn't keep them kids.
No. It's why I keep saying, if I ever die and you have these kids, you need to get remarried right away. Make sure you have someone to take care of them because you're going to be doomed without me. Okay. That person. Oh, someone had put a thing underneath that. Okay, so someone had commented underneath there saying, my friend did this once, accidentally forgot to lock the door, and it resulted in a weird, scary night. Both her and her 3 kids were sick, so they were sleeping downstairs in the living room. Her husband was upstairs in an attempt to avoid getting sick. Anyway, she said all of a sudden she felt someone crawl onto the air mattress and lay down next to her. Oh my gosh. After a second or two, she realized it was a stranger, and she began to scream to go toward her kids. The guy got up, shirtless, if memory serves, oh my gosh, and began apologizing like crazy. Her husband flew down the stairs and had hands on the guy within seconds. Turns out he was coming home from a Summerfest, a music festival, and was very, very intoxicated and terrified. She said he wasn't a big guy and really did seem genuinely lost. He explained that he is very drunk and his friend's house must be a house or 2 down and he's not a killer.
Yeah, not a killer.
I know. When people are like, I'm not. I seriously, right? If you have to point out that you're not a killer.
I'm not a criminal.
Like, I wasn't even thinking you were going to kill me, but now I am. He apologized to the kids for scaring them and to my friend again. Then said he was then he said he was gay and would never harm anyone and to please not call the cops. He was really embarrassed. They didn't call the cops, and the guy left. But can you imagine someone crawling in your bed with you? Lock your door, folks.
Yeah, that's
okay. That is so creepy. Like, you're in an air mattress by yourself, and you can definitely feel when someone's literally crawling on the air mattress with you. Got little voices behind the door here. Not to add to the creepy vibe. Little children's voices and footsteps. You could hear everything in this house.
You can hear.
I will say, I was reading a bunch of these stories earlier. It's just me at home while I'm working, and I have the cats. And you know how cats are. They just have to move at the worst time and knock something over. And it scared me because I was in the middle of reading something. And I was already getting, like, tense from all the creepiness I'm reading. And I'm just like, okay, was that a cat or was that a person? All I could say is someone better, if anyone wants to steal, like, our things, you could literally open the door, take one look at our house and be like, it ain't worth it. I hope I'm giving off that vibe at our house.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at our house,
I'd have to really dig for the good stuff.
Yeah, and that's like, you really have to dig anywhere because there's so much toys everywhere. Yeah. So it's not a house that you'd be like, oh, they're going to have some valuables. I'm like, our valuables are probably our car and our car seats. They're pretty expensive. I always tell people, like, okay, I do say lock the doors here because I don't want to have to pay for another car seat.
Yeah.
That's like the most expensive thing. So if they really want to, get something that's expensive, it's the car itself for the car seats if you want to make a quick getaway. But even those aren't quick because they're buckled in.
Yeah.
So, yep, that's pretty much how it goes. Okay, next one is, this is off of r/true crime discussions. And this is asking the people who are pretty sure they've encountered a serial killer or mass murderer, what happened? So, someone here had put down, so back in 1999, we lived in an industrial area in St. Louis. We lived literally 100 yards from the railroad tracks. My mom and sister lived right next door to each other. And one day my mom calls out to me from the front porch, and I go outside, and there's this guy out there. And she asked me if I could go get him some water. So I went into the house, grabbed this guy one of those big plastic takeaway cups you could get from fast food places, full of ice water. He sat there looking at us for a bit, and then my Rottweiler came strolling out of the house, and he moved on back up towards the railroad tracks. Fast forward like a month later, my sister comes flying into the house, grabs the remote, and turns on the news. They had just arrested the killer, the suspected serial killer, Angel Resendiz, the railway killer. And they show him on TV again. It was the same guy that I gave water to just a few weeks earlier. Come to find out, after he hopped the train again in St. Louis, he most likely headed to Gorham, Illinois, and ended up killing George Morber and Caroline Frederick. We actually spoke with the FBI at this time to help establish a timeline. I mean, wouldn't that be, like, creepy to That would be creepy to find out that, oh, this man that we were helping is actually a killer.
Even people that you pass at, like, the store or at a fair where, you know, everyone from your state's there and you don't know everyone's background, and it's kind of interesting if you think about it, to think, like, oh, what did that person do? And
exactly.
Some of the things that people have done and that are in your area, and you're unaware of it.
No, seriously. Someone else after that had posted their own story saying, my neighbor was kidnapped out of her house and murdered by the guy who worked at the gas station down. Sorry, not laughing at the murdering part, just the gas station part, because you just mentioned that. Worked at the gas station down the road from us. The gas station was about 200 yards from both a nursery school and a middle school. I don't remember him, but my parents do. I do remember that I saw my neighbor every single day when she walked to her job, and she would smile and wave at me. And then one day I saw her picture on a missing persons poster in town. The man who killed her then killed 3 other girls, including 2 sisters. He had previously been convicted of rape and was granted parole after serving less than half his sentence. He killed my neighbor 9 months later after his release. Oh, so he just, like, decided to kill again right after. I mean, seriously? My goodness. He probably saw 150 kids a day, including me, and chose her. I believe the laws in my state were changed after his crimes about sex offenders living and working in such close proximity to schools. Yeah.
Well, there's already laws on that, but...
I mean, this was... They don't say when this happened, so this might have been a while ago. But someone said, too bad the laws weren't changed to better deal with sex offenders and violent offenders. Yeah. He spent... What is it? He had previously been convicted and was granted parole after serving less than half his sentence. Less than half his sentence. Like... How much of a changed person do they act in there that you can really tell they're going to be changed in real life again? Like, that's just so hard. So hard. Like, the world wants to give these people a second chance, but some of them deserve it, some of them don't. You just never know. That's the thing. You never know. You should just know in the beginning. There's got to be something mentally wrong with this guy to be, or just so... I don't even know how to say it. Black-hearted. I don't know. He's evil. Evil man.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Next one we're going to go to is another r/ask Reddit. This one was, people of Reddit, what's the creepiest encounter you've had with a complete stranger that is still giving you chills today? And someone had posted saying... A man outside a bar one night approached my girlfriend and I. He asked if we heard about the murders in New Brighton. We, of course, had not. He went on to explain that his girlfriend had been killed the next morning, and I saw that he was arrested for killing her. So the next morning he saw on the news that he was arrested for killing her. And he was asking the girlfriend and OP writing this, he's like, have you heard about the murders? And he's like, no. Telling them that his girlfriend was killed, and then he finds out the next morning he was arrested for killing. It was him. He was the murderer.
He probably did it and then went to the bar.
So someone puts down, someone said, you saw the same man on the news? And they're like, yes, apparently that night he confessed what he did to a friend, and thankfully that man talked him into turning himself in. Must have been drunk and been like, I got a story to tell you.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Someone after that had said, I was pregnant with my first child in 2001. Right before my due date, I was obviously really pregnant. I was shopping in Walmart and I started to notice this woman on every aisle I went on. I would guess she was in her mid-30s. When I walked to the baby section to look at clothes, she started asking me questions. At first, they were common, like about the gender. Then the questions started getting strange. Was I married? Did we have a house or an apartment? She commented on my accent and was curious if we had anyone in the area. I am from Michigan and was stationed in Florida visiting for the birth. Just kind of odd. I was young, 20, but I was married and my husband and I were both active duty living off the base in a rental house. I just told her yes. We were excited and to have a good rest of her day. She then started actually following me, telling me her husband was outside the store and they could help me take my groceries to my house. Red flag. Actually, no. The first red flag was that she was following you in every aisle. This is another big red flag. That's when I got really nervous. I told her I was fine, thanks, that my husband was home and could help me. She then told me that they had a big truck, even better, and that she would buy me a large baby item. I politely declined, and she was so insistent, becoming aggressive. She then offered to buy my husband a grill, since we didn't need any baby things. I was getting panicky at this point because I knew this lady was not right. I went to check out, so did she. She got out before me, and I watched her race walk out of the store, and sure enough, she and her husband were pulled along the curb at the front near the pop machines. They were in a beat-up yellow box truck. Husband rolls down the window and says, "We'd be happy to help you with that." I again declined and went to my car. I loaded up, watched for a minute. They didn't move. Just watched me. That's so creepy. As soon as I pulled out, they did too. I hauled butt out of there and they were only behind me for a minute or two. I still drove around crying for about 30 minutes making sure they were gone before I had to pee and needed to go home. Such a pregnant woman.
Yeah.
I had to go pee. I'm now 44 and that is the first and one of just a few times that I have felt that level of fear in my life. Yeah. I mean, I could only think of stories of them trying to, I don't know. They targeted her specifically. She was very far along pregnant. You hear about creepy, terrifying people out there wanting a baby of their own.
That, yeah,
or selling off.
Who knows?
I don't know. What are you thinking?
Well, it was also early 2000s, so who knows what it was like. And in Florida, I don't know.
Florida be crazy. I actually have another story about Florida.
If you think of like the trafficking thing, Florida's not too far off from Cuba. And so who knows, maybe there could be something.
Someone had posted saying that the best way to ensure that girls can and will challenge, defy, fight predatory men is for their fathers to encourage them to disagree, negotiate, and have their own opinions. Fathers should be interested and treat these opinions seriously and encourage girls to treat their fathers like he might be wrong and that he can be persuaded or challenged. Authoritarian fathers who require total compliance with no backtalk are setting up their daughters to be prey for predatory men by stifling and punishing their self-defense instincts. Those predatory men use these socializations as a hack to gain control and abuse girls. That's a little bit of psychology there for you.
I was saying, what does that have to do with anything?
I think it was just that this woman stayed firm and wasn't trying to be polite.
Yeah.
As a lot of women sometimes feel like they have to be when they're like trying to give out an answer. Like when they're trying to say no, like they're just trying to be polite when they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy," or "Oh, I'm sorry this," and they don't get the hint. People don't get the hint. Whether if it's a man or a woman, sometimes being the nice guy or the nice girl and being the polite one, sometimes if you don't want something, you don't feel right about it, and they're still pressuring you, you gotta be a little mean to make them back off. So I think this guy was just putting his own little psychology 2 cents into there, saying, as a parent, fathers need to do this. Which, I mean, honestly, I kind of agree. Like, you know, I think the best thing is to make your children aware that there are bad people out there, and always know who the signs of when something's not right.
Yeah.
So I think that's the best thing to kind of do with that. Okay. So next one I have is from r/hiking. Scary stories on hiking adventures. True story. I once camped out in Rabbit Valley on the border of Colorado and Utah. I was traveling the country and sleeping in the back of my trunk or in a teepee-style tent I had bought off Amazon. This particular night, I had set up my tent in a desolate camping area about 15 to 20 miles from the highway. There was only one other rig in the campsites, and they were pretty far away, so it was nice, quiet, and peaceful. I dozed off for the night and awoke to some odd sounds on my tent. It sounded like someone was dragging their fingers up and down the nylon, walking around the tent. I sat completely still and just listened to the whirring of something dragging on the nylon without making a move. About 10 minutes or so go by. It felt like an eternity, and the sounds stopped. I laid in my cot and listened for another 15 minutes or so, when all of a sudden my tent capsizes and falls down on over myself and my cot. A small center support had angled the tent at a 45-degree angle so I could still access the opening. I ripped the zipper open and ran for my truck, crawled into the back, locked the topper from inside, and grabbed my firearm. I laid awake for the rest of the night until the sunrise so I could go retrieve my tent, cook stove, cot from the campsite. I arrived at the campsite to inspect the area to see if I was just on the road too long and paranoid, or an intruder or guest had come to visit in the wee hours of the night. Around my tent in the desert dirt/snow were shoe prints, making a steady circle around the tent. Different size foot than mine, and with what looked to be like a pointed cowboy boot. And they had circled several times and then wandered off into the valley. I have never been back since and still get the heebie-jeebies every time I go tent camping now. Anyone else have a crazy experience while out in the backwoods desert?
Why was your firearm in your truck and not in your tent?
Yeah, seriously, why wasn't
You think if someone's going to do something, they're going to take your truck?
Yeah, you would think they'd look in the truck
first.
first.
Nobody's in there. Why not break a window and steal the truck? Or the content in the truck?
Okay, so this is just a really creepy person who really wanted to scare this guy. And the thing is, the guy was circling around and he was gone. I think people are super scary when it comes to like doing something like this. And okay, the whole part about what the tent it was falling on top of him, and like it was basically whatever was holding up was falling down and it's falling on top of him. I would probably scream like bloody murder because I'd be so scared of something falling on me.
Probably undid a stake or something and made it fall, or who knows?
I know, because he said the middle, like the middle tent that was holding it, support beam that was holding in the middle was still standing. So anything that was like staked down was pulled up. Yeah. So I wonder if someone like literally knocked it over or whatever. And the funny thing is, when he ripped out and ran to his truck, there was no encounter with this person.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's just creepy. And, yeah. This is the thing. I love camping, but I'd probably like camping in a camper more.
Yeah. I love glamping.
Right? I love it when I have a trailer.
Yeah.
Trailers are nice. Trailers are more solid. Tents, all I know is that you can hear everything.
You can hear and feel everything.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just creepy. Okay. So the next one I have is we're going to go into a couple of r/let's not meet stories. So this one's from 7 years ago. It says, creepy dude in the pharmacy with a weird fetish.
Yeah, you can find them there.
You can find them anywhere. All right, this happened maybe 10 years ago when I was in my early 30s. I was standing in the line at the local pharmacy to get my prescriptions. This is a small town, and I am a regular there, so they know me on sight. I was behind a couple of other people in line, and there were a couple of people behind me. I kept feeling a tickle in my hair in the back of my head, but every time I looked behind me, the guy there was a few steps back and looking at the floor. This happened several times by the time I was at the front of the line. The pharmacist told me she wanted to talk to me about my medication in the consultation room they had at the time. I thought this was weird because we both knew I had been on this medication for years and would be for life, so it's nothing new. I get back to the room and close the door, and she comes in from the door at the other side that leads from the pharmacy. She told me that the man behind had been stepping forward, sticking his nose in my hair, and smelling before stepping back and looking at the floor. This shook me pretty badly, as this is such weird behavior, especially in my little town. The pharmacy staff insisted on having me wait there until the guy was distracted by another pharmacy employee, and they had a security guard walk me to my car and watch me drive off to make sure I was gone before a hair sniffer guy came out and saw what I was driving and what direction I was going. I still use the pharmacy, and some of the same people still work there. I will always be grateful that they took the initiative to make sure I was safe that day. So that was like good pharmacist.
Good for them.
Yeah. So it's good that you were regular because they actually wanted to help you. But I mean, sniffer dude.
You just smelled good. I mean,
right? You're trying to play devil's advocate. He just really liked the perfume you were wearing up close, right behind you in your
like
neck.
Flowers.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I would think that's weird if someone came up and kept sniffing me.
Yeah.
Like, you're in public, man. Who is not going to see you? You're literally the one dude behind this woman. And she's
it's one thing if you're, like, standing by someone, you're like, oh, you smell good. And, like, leave it at that. But if that's...
And then you keep going back, and then you keep doing it. Like she says, this happens several times.
I just needed a good whiff before I go home.
Oh, okay.
Saving it for later.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. No, that's just creepy behavior. So, kudos to the pharmacist people taking care of you. That was very nice.
Yeah.
Because you don't see that, some people just like, oh, that's weird, and then just let it be.
Be like, I got to stay behind the counter.
Yeah, I don't want to
run your car.
I don't want to get involved.
Yeah.
So, another story is from Let's Not Meet from 5 years ago. Someone broke into my house and tried to find me.
Was it at the Purge?
No. No. Okay, so this is a few years ago. I was renting a house in Northern California.
Well, that's why.
It's California. The neighborhood was just outside the suburbs. It seemed like the perfect balance of having space and having nice neighbors close enough not to feel isolated. The area had no street lights, so it was very dark at night, especially if there were clouds blocking the moonlight. It didn't bother me, though. It made my little house feel even more quaint on dark nights. I got home from work one day in midwinter. It was a cloudy night, so pulling up to my house, I saw only what my headlights and front porch light illuminated. When I got out of my car, I caught a whiff of cigarette smoke. That was odd, as I had never smelled that before around the house. I didn't see anyone nearby, so I ignored it and went inside. I had just got off a shift with a few hours of overtime, so I felt pretty tired. Even though it wasn't even 7 yet, I decided to take a shower and call it a night. I woke up sometime later, sure that I had heard a noise in my house. I wasn't worried right away because my friend would sometimes stop by to use my shower after the work on his way to his night classes. I even gave him a spare key so he could stop by even if I wasn't home. He would always text me to let me know beforehand, though, and I hadn't heard my phone go off. I reached over to my bedside table and picked up my cell phone to see if my friend had sent me a text. The bright light from my phone screen and number pad blinded me. These were the days before phones had a light sensor that would dim the screens in the dark. And this particular phone was so bright I could use it as a flashlight through squinted eyes. I remember those. So, through squinted eyes, I could make out that it was 9-something, but I couldn't tell if I had an unread text or not. I set my phone aside and called out my friend's name. Oh gosh, she called out the name.
Call out my name.
I set my phone aside and called out my friend's name. I thought someone was trying to open the door. There were a couple of seconds of silence before I heard loud footfalls as someone started running through the bottom floor of my house. I leapt out of bed and ran to the closet. They were already up the stairs by the time I had opened the door and stepped inside. That house had 3 rooms upstairs. 2 bedrooms on either side of the hallway, the one I was in and a spare room, and a bathroom at the end. The bedroom doors were both closed, but the bathroom door was cracked open. I heard whoever was in my house thunder down the hallway past my door and into the bathroom. Thank goodness he did. That gave me enough time to open the attic access in the ceiling of my closet and hoist myself up. I had just started to lift myself up when the person ran back out of the bathroom. My feet were barely inside of the attic when my bedroom door burst open. I heard footsteps run into my room and stop. When they didn't see me in that room, they ran back to the hallway and into the other room, which had just boxes stacked in the corner, some weights, and a table where I painted my miniature models. I guess they decided that if someone was hiding, it would be in the bedroom because they charged back into my room and turned on the light. A moment later, the closet door was ripped open. I was crouched in my attic just a foot or so away from the access, so I could try to stop them if they started to climb up. From my vantage point, all I could see was about their knee down. They were wearing dirty blue jeans with frayed cuffs and worn work boots. After a few seconds of looking in the closet, they stepped away, and I heard a loud crash come from my room, followed by a scream of frustration and anger. That scream was most unnerving part of the incident for me. It reminded me far too much of my stepfather, who would scream in a similar way when he lost his temper. He would eventually be put in a mental hospital for several mental disorders that resulted in erratic and violent tendencies. So probably this brought her some PTSD. The man in my house ran back down the stairs. I heard crashes and clatters as things were being thrown around and furniture was knocked over. I stayed crouched in the attic. I had left my cell phone when I ran for the closet, and I wasn't certain I could climb down without him hearing. After some time, the noises stopped. I started counting slowly. When I reached 1,000, I decided it was safe enough to climb down and call the police. The first thing I noticed when I exited the closet was the intruder had flipped my bed over. I assume an attempt to find me. That was the loud noise I had heard after he stepped away from the closet. I couldn't find my cell phone, so I went to the landline. It's old enough that she had a landline by the bed and called the police. I waited in my room until I heard them call out from downstairs. The first floor was a mess, but I had expected that. Chairs had been knocked over, the sofa had been flipped, all the books, pictures, and knickknacks I had on my shelves were strewn across the floor. The cupboards in the kitchen had been opened, and all the boxes and canned food had been thrown to the ground. As far as I could tell, the only thing missing was a single knife out of the wooden block in my kitchen. The police checked the house from top to bottom. They found that the side door had been forced open by something like a crowbar. They also found a few cigarette butts along my fence line, along with some foil and an empty pen tube, which the police said people use often to smoke meth. So they think he had been watching my house for a while. I realized that he must have been out there smoking cigarettes when I got home. They collected up the evidence and told me I should stay with family or friends that night and get that door fixed as soon as possible. I opted to just not sleep. So she never left her house.
I probably wouldn't leave the house either.
I opted to just not sleep. I moved a shelf over to block the broken door and spent the next couple hours cleaning things up. I would often go to the window with a flashlight and shine it along the fence line where the police found the cigarette butts and foil, but I didn't see anything. The next day I called to have the doors fixed and motion lights installed at the back side of my house. I ran a phone cable up into the attic and added a landline. I never wanted to be stuck up there without a phone again. Nothing else happened at that house, though. I lived there another 3 years without an incident. One more precaution I took was practicing getting out of bed, going to my closet, and climbing into the attic as quickly and quietly as possible. I even kept it at it when I moved, except now I go to a crawl space at the back of the closet instead of the attic. I try not to think about what would have happened if I had been a bit slower getting to the attic or if he hadn't gone into the bathroom at the end of the hall first. That's really creepy.
That is.
That would be a really scary experience. Someone breaking in, like literally looking specifically for a person.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It wasn't like he was trying to look for something specifically. He was looking for you.
Yeah.
So you had quick instincts. So that was very good instincts for the dead of night to know exactly where to go.
And that you had that in your room.
And to have that attic, yeah.
In your room.
I always think of that. Like, if I had a place to hide, I would be...
usually, like, in a garage or in an old bedroom. I don't know. Just random places in the hallway.
There's definitely no place I could have climbed. I mean, I have, like, a part of my closet that's, like, a really high shelf back there. But there's no way I could have gone up there by myself. I could just imagine me trying to get up there. I'm grunting all the way, trying to get up there. My legs are
like,
probably...
hold up. Give me a couple minutes.
Can you give me a boost?
Then you can try to come kill me.
Right. Here, can you push me up? I'd be mid-hang.
Let me step on your back.
I'd be dead so fast. The only person that would protect me first would be Justin, first of all. And, yeah, so... That's why I usually, when something I think is, I hear something scary, I'm like, Justin, can you come out?
Go check it out.
I've already done that one time when the fireworks were going off, and I didn't know they were fireworks. I thought someone had, like, tapped on the window.
Oh.
And it was some random further down neighbor that had done, like, a little pop or something with a firework. Because I totally forgot. It was, like, around 4th of July. It wasn't 4th of July. It was, like, a couple days before.
Yeah.
Totally forgot all about it, and I'm just in there, and I'm like, usually if I hear a noise, it's usually the cats, but the cats were both right there next to me, and they also look at the window. Yeah. So all I'm thinking is, if you're looking at the window, and I think the sound went over there, there's probably someone there.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to get Justin out of bed, like, I need you to go check the door and make sure there's no one here, because our blinds, of course, from our cats, if you have cats, you understand, they have literally torn half of our blinds out, so we have a lot of chunky holes or areas that you could literally go up against the window and see through. So all I'm thinking is they can see me, but I can't see them. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just like, I'm in my PJs and I don't feel comfortable going over to the door, especially if they can watch me. And so then Justice goes to the door, he opens it, doesn't see anything. He's like grumbling and thinking I'm crazy, and he has...
Make me get out of bed. And
yeah, right. And he has all the right to think I'm crazy, because then all again we heard the pop pop. And then he's like, was that what you heard? I'm like, maybe. And he's like, they're fireworks, Becca. He's like, and I'm like, fireworks? And he's like, yes, it's July 2nd. Fireworks can go off now, or something like that. I'm just like, I really thought, though. I'm just a girl. I know. Right? I'm just a girl. I'm a damsel in distress. No, seriously, I will act all tough when it comes to my kids and making sure they're okay. Or when there's, like, another kid I see, I'm very protective, mama bear on my kids. But if it ever came to just myself, like, yeah, I'd probably be like,
wuss.
Maybe. I think I'd freeze. If it comes to my kids, I have that instinct to protect them, stand in front of them, push them off to the side or something like that. Or do everything I can to help the kids, but when it comes to myself, I'd probably be a deer in the headlights. So, what I'm saying is survival skills, probably not the best. I don't know. Need to work on that.
Any skills.
Right?
Right.
Right? Okay. Okay, we're going to do a couple more. I'm going to do this. Actually, we'll do one more. This is our last one, and it's from r/TIFU. Today I effed up. These are always great ones.
Usually.
This is from 3 years ago. It says, today effed up by accidentally starting my hometown's ghost legend.
Nice.
Yes. Okay, so this is more of a 5 years ago today I effed up. When I was a teenager, my friends and I used to hang out in this one spot in the woods to drink. It's always in the woods. Crazy people being crazy. We live in a small town. There wasn't exactly much else to do. On Halloween night of 2016, we dressed up to take a couple of our younger siblings trick-or-treating, then delivered them home and headed to the woods to get drunk. That sounds reasonable.
Seems fair.
Yeah. I was dressed I first thought it said I was dressed as a mommy. It's a mummy.
Oh.
I was dressed as a mommy.
What do those look like?
I know, right? They all come in shapes and sizes. She. Okay. Okay, I was dressed as a mummy, and my friends were Woody from Toy Story, a witch, Amy Pond from Doctor Who, a pirate, and Batman. Very colorful and variety of costumes there. Once we'd gotten to our spot in the woods, we started drinking. Now he names all his people the costume. So Batman revealed that he had obtained some weed. None of us, apart from Batman and Amy Pond, had actually ever smoked weed before. But we decided to go for it. After a while of drinking and smoking weed, Woody wandered off to pee. But he quickly came back to us, whisper yelling, "Hey guys! You gotta be quiet! They're gonna hear us!" That's so... I'm picturing it all. Sorry, I'm giving you a little picture there for you guys to listen to. Whisper yelling that there were cops coming. We rushed to put out our fire and grab our stuff. We scattered and hid just as we heard voices and saw flashlight beams. I, as a mummy, was entirely wearing white, so I was worried about being visible in the pitch dark. I basically flattened myself to the ground under the thickest bush I could find and started achingly slowly unraveling my bandages and stuffing them into my bag. As I was doing this, I was occasionally hearing muffled giggles and rustling from my friends.
Of course.
They're just not taking anything seriously, but how could you if you're drunk and you're high?
Crossfaded right there.
Right? That's like the worst case scenario if there's cops involved. So giggles and rustling from my friends, who were definitely too high to take this situation seriously. As I started hearing what the cops were saying, I realized they were getting spooked by my friends' noises. Then I heard a thud, followed by scuttling, which I later learned was Batman, who had climbed a tree, falling out of the tree and running to a new hiding spot. This is like the worst case of hide and seek. This was followed by, "What was that? What the F was that? Dude, did you see that? That wasn't a person, man. That was an effing shadow person or something."
Shadow person.
This apparently caused Batman, who was physically... Sorry. A cat just sneezed. It's a really cute sneeze. Okay, so this apparently caused Batman, who was physically holding his nose and mouth closed to stop himself from giggling, and let out a loud snort, startling the cops. I took the opportunity to tear off my remaining bandages and sprint away, and my friends followed suit. We eventually met up as we were laughing about our escape, and Amy Pond was telling us who she thought the cops were based on their voices. Spoiler, they were not real cops. They were juniors at her school, and going by what I know about them now, they were probably also on something.
That's where all high school
That's
goes.
where all everyone goes. It's the spot in the woods to get high and drunk. Batman suddenly went serious and said, "Guys, I left my backpack there." His backpack, which of course had his ID in it, along with several empty beer cans and some weed. Oh, you gotta get that. The witch, who was the only one of us who could drive at the time, offered to go by in the morning before school and get it. Batman mentioned that she may have to do some searching because in his panic, he'd literally flung the backpack away from him, and he wasn't sure which direction it had gone. I could see this like as a skit, literally a skit of them literally like, "Guys, boom!" And they just like fling their arms everywhere, and they're just like, someone's giggling, one fell out of a tree. I see this literally as a just some comical skit. This is so funny. So though, gotta find it. Batman so he had literally flung backpack away from him, and he wasn't sure which direction it had gone. The witch couldn't find it before school, so later Batman and I went to go and search. It was starting to get dark then when we noticed the When we noticed the backpack had managed to get stuck up a tree. I went off to try and find a long stick to poke it down while Batman decided to attempt to climb the tree because he had gone so well the last time. And then I heard approaching voices. The guys from the night before had brought some friends and were trying to convince them that there was definitely something creepy out there. There was one voice I recognized, my next door neighbor, and he was a bit of a dick. The last thing I wanted was for him to narc on me to my parents. Narc on me to my parents that I was hanging out in the woods at night instead of at my friend's house, supervised by their parents, especially if they found Batman and decided to check in the bag and see the empty beer cans and weed. The only solution that I, a dumb person, could come up with was to sweep my long hair over my face in a bizarre homage to the Ring, let out the most unholy screech I could muster, and run towards them. This somehow worked. They ran at least far enough away that Batman and I could get away. Batman had surprisingly managed to get the backpack. A few days later, we started hearing rumors around the school about the woods being haunted. People said that if you went there at night, you could hear the whispering and moving around of people who aren't there and see shadowy figures moving in the corner of your eye, as well as the screaming ghost of a little girl, which is frankly offensive. I'm not that short. That's what you're offended about? Apparently, they'd found bandages covered in dry blood. They were just dirty. Come on, guys. Later, others started claiming they'd seen shadowy figures in the woods, too, and even the screaming ghost. I don't know if their imagination was playing up, they were lying, or they were genuinely some people taking advantage of the ghost hype and going out pretending to be ghosts. Probably a combination of all three. It's been 5 years and the ghost rumors persist. It's mostly kids from that school who talk about it, but I've heard adults claim they've seen ghosts there too. My friends and I haven't had the heart to admit what actually happened, even though we're all adults now, and our parents can't yell at us for hanging out in the woods or drinking and smoking weed. It's kind of hilarious hearing people talk about that crazy stuff they've seen in the woods, knowing it's all definitely bullcrap. It makes me wonder if this is how most ghost stories get started. A bunch of idiots messing around and spooking some people who probably tripping, and everyone else just making stuff up on their overactive imagination, showing them what they'd expect to see. And that's it.
Interesting.
I think the whole story of them just smoking and drinking was hilarious and them trying to hide.
Yes.
Honestly, it's probably good it was teenagers and not the real cops, because I don't think the cops would be spooked. I think they noticed the giggling was coming from actual people.
All right, this isn't our first time.
Yeah, right. You can come out now. We know you're there.
We got all night.
I will say though, sometimes cops can be little wimps. No, I'm not saying that to everyone. I'm just saying we had an incident where we had this raccoon in our neighbor's area, and we were trying to get rid of it, so we had to call the non-emergency 911. And we had 2 cops, and we're looking for it. I'm, like, trying to get in things and trying to find this raccoon while the cop is, like, just standing in the back. And I'm like, here, if you want to go in there and check. He's like, no, I'm good. And literally the guy's just, like, me and my neighbor, we're literally, like, trying to look into things, like, trying to find this raccoon. Because this raccoon was injured or sick because the raccoon just would limp around and hang all over our stuff. It was it was on our kids' little play trampoline at the time. Because we saw it go over the fence and just flop onto it. And so I'm like, oh, great. I have a diseased animal on my kid's trampoline. Now I'm going to have to spray it and hose it down with Dawn dish soap or something. It wasn't sick. It was just hurt. But they didn't know that at the time. And every time we're like, here, if you want to go in that area, it probably wasn't there. And he's like, no, I think he went away.
I think you're hearing things.
Yeah, no, honestly. Then he's like, well, if you see it, you can call us again. I don't think the guy wanted to come back out. But no, they did find the raccoon later because then he was hiding and sleeping under our grill. And so they had to. This is the funny thing. Then they came back with they came out with like a leash holder thing to kind of tie him up and drag him to the. But then they're like, "Hey, do you have any cardboard boxes we can put him in?" I'm like, "Why did you not come prepared?" Like, well, I don't think he's gonna go into the kennel. And this was a big raccoon, so I'm just like, "Here, can you get us a cardboard box?" I'm like, "I ain't going out there. My kids." We're not going out there.
Yeah.
This is why we called you. Do your job.
You take care of it.
No, I mean, I get it. I wouldn't want to be in that situation either. It was just so funny because I'm just like, cops get spooked too. They get scared. They don't want to go up to certain things that they know is probably not going to end up well.
Yeah.
So I'm not dissing any cops. I'm just saying it was funny. It was a funny scenario. So I kind of see sometimes cops go through quite a bit. So
They do.
okay, well those were my stories. So were you creeped out?
No.
No, because I mean, obviously there were stories we read, and they ended up being okay because no one died in the end. Well, at least none that we know of. But they were creepy stories that are completely true that could happen in everyday life, because we've definitely heard a lot of variations of these kind of like same stories happening to people. Even creepy things happening like to ourselves, like just weird people. It's literally just people out there. So, I mean, I was going to say, I think they'll be for the next episode as real monsters in the modern world.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, these were just like creepy encounters. That's probably what it's going to be. Creepy encounters. And, yeah, we're going to go with maybe more serious, scary things happening. I don't like going into like true crime, like through Halloween stuff. This is just kind of spooky, scary things. But still, hopefully no one dies in them, because I don't like to put a downer on things, especially the podcast, because I like to keep it light. So, did you ever have any spooky or scary things ever happen to you in life?
Probably. There was one time in my apartment where I was sleeping, and it was early morning, like 2-3 o'clock. It happened like 3 nights in a row where someone was pounding on my door. By the time I got there, there was nobody there. And then it happened again another night. And then I called my complex to see if they had cameras, and they don't have cameras. But anyway, that's probably the most recent creepy thing.
Was this in your place now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't like that.
And it was like 3 nights in a row.
Do you ever hear footsteps? Like going up the stairs? Because those...
I mean, I do, but I mean, you can hear everybody outside.
Right, but you didn't hear anyone? You just heard the knocking?
I didn't hear anybody, so...
Okay.
Maybe someone wanted some sugar, I don't know.
At like, what, middle of the night?
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing good ever happens after midnight. So, yeah, I can't think of anything like super spooky or creepy. I mean, I know I do have some encounters, but I think I've pushed them out of my brain. Plus, I'm that gullible person. Not now, since being married to Justin, not everyone, just Justin. But with like just being in a relationship with him and being married to him, I've noticed that the life is not as pretty as it is out there, and not to be so gullible, because I was always that gullible person who kind of believed in everything, or believed everyone being a nice person. And I still think that way. I definitely give the benefit of the doubt and give people like, not excuses, but I'll just be like, oh, they must be a nice person. And Justin's always like, why do you believe everyone's so nice? The world is... There's so many bad people out there. You got to realize that,
Yeah.
Don't, just because they're nice to you now doesn't mean they'll be nice to you later. So don't like literally give them your life story to them. The people that you just first meet. We're just so opposite. I just grew up thinking everyone was supposed to be nice, and everyone was supposed to help each other out. And that was definitely not how you guys grew up for the beginning.
We just don't like people.
Or that.
I'm nice, but I probably don't like you.
How am I friends with you? How am I married to Justin? I mean, we're so opposite. You and I are so opposite, but yet here we are together. Such a happy family. Yay. Yeah. Okay, that is the stories I have for this week. Get ready for next week to be maybe more extreme stories. So maybe another trigger warning, or just a warning for that episode as well. And then we're going to get back into like normal episodes again, starting in November, just because this is the spooky season and we want to make it spooky. Right?
No.
Okay. Well, you're spooky all around. Seriously. So with that, I bid you adieu. Is it adieu?
Goodbye.
Goodbye. And we'll talk to you later. Not talk to you. We don't talk to you, but we'd love to talk to you. Actually, hold on. I never finished. If you guys have your own experiences, seriously, I'm like out of whack. I'm going cuckoo, and just putting that out there for all of you guys to hear. But if you guys have any of your own experiences that you just would love to share, like honestly, send it to us. You can email at the Reddit Randos at gmail.com. Give them our stories. Like and subscribe and rate us for those who are new, to those who have been listening for a while. Because we'll have more crazy stories like this in the future as well, every once in a while, because we are random. We are random and we tell random stories. This is just themed stories right now, but... And with that, now I can say a goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Uh-huh.